Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Hello everyone to a new episode from podcast AAB World. I am Meisaء الشامي and today we have a very special guest from South Africa. She's a wildlife photographer. So let us welcome Karolina. Hi Karolina.
Hello, thank you.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Fine, everything is good. How about the weather in Kuwait? Did you enjoy it or you didn't go outside until now?
Amazing. No, so I arrived yesterday and then I didn't really have time to go outside much. But this morning I went for a walk and it was beautiful because it was sunny, but it wasn't too hot. And the water was just gorgeous and such a beautiful city. And yeah, just loved it.
Okay, that's not every day happen
Okay.
actually in Kuwait. So you are so lucky that the weather is really nice and maybe you notice that everyone is smiling, everyone is happy because we
Yeah.
don't get this weather all year around.
Because usually it's too hot, eh?
Yes, it's too hot.
That's amazing. It's
But
just so
we
funny.
used to it. We
Yeah,
used to it.
it's
We love
funny.
Kuwait in any matter whatever the weather is.
Yeah, and I love how everyone here is just so excited that it rained yesterday and that it's cooler weather now
Yes.
because usually it will be the opposite
Yes.
in South Africa and in Sweden if it rains and nobody's happy about it.
Carolina, we are really so happy to have you with us in Kuwait in this event. So, can you introduce yourself, please, the name and your story, and also your career?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Karolina Nore, and I'm a wildlife photographer and photographic guide, which means I bring people out on safari in South Africa and show them the wildlife and also teach them how to take photos of the wildlife. So that's a big part of my job. I'm originally from Sweden, but I live in South Africa since 7 years back.
Wow, this is another different story.
Yes, yeah.
You have to tell us the whole story. But I'm wondering how your passion starts actually from the wildlife. I mean, what happened?
Yeah, it's funny because, usually people who do wildlife photography, they know that from a very early age, they were watching Nat Geo documentaries and just knew that that's what they wanted to do and had photos up all over their rooms of wildlife and so on. And that's never how it was for me. I've always enjoyed nature and just always enjoyed being out in nature. I was a scout when I was younger, so spent a lot of time in nature, hiking and so on. And I've always enjoyed photography, like just from taking photos with my phone to I started using my dad's camera to do like photo shoots with my friends. So that's how I started with photography. And then I did a course in school, which I'm really grateful for now that I did because it learned me all the basics and everything. So that was a good starting point. But it was never like something I considered as a career or anything, and just never realized that was an option until I came to South Africa. And that's when I came to South Africa for a very last minute random spontaneous decision to go traveling after I finished our equivalent to high school. And
Like to live there or just for an experience?
yeah, just for an experience. I booked a 2 months volunteering trip at a horse safari
Wow.
place. Yeah, and because of just random reasons, I found it, and I came for the horses and wanted to do stuff with the horses, and then the rest of the wildlife and the Africa part of it. I was like, oh, that would be cool, like see a new place, and I didn't really know what to expect. I don't think I even expected to see animals. And then my dad was like, okay, well, you're gonna bring your camera, like you need a telephoto lens, you're gonna see animals. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't know if I'm gonna take photos of animals.
The phone will be enough.
Yeah, exactly. You think so? And then he was like, no, but you need a telephoto lens. And he had a old 70-200 lens that was a push and pull zoom and fully manual focus.
Wow.
So he was like, you borrow this and then, you've got something. And I'm so grateful for that because I obviously needed it. And that was the thing. That's when I really I fell in love with South Africa and
The
loved the
feelings
wildlife.
is different when you go to the zoo. It's different,
Yes.
totally different because
Oh, very
I told you
different.
yesterday that I had that experience, but only for like 1 week.
Yeah.
It was totally different. I can't even explain the emotions and the feelings when you wake up in
Yes.
the morning in the middle of the safari and you see the giraffe and the zebra. Is it real? I like, Oh my
Yes.
God, what's happening? I had my coffee. The weather was really nice. It's really an unforgettable experience.
I completely agree with you. And as you say, it's so difficult to explain.
Yeah.
And I think that's what actually fuels my photography, and why I started taking photos when I was on this trip, because I was trying to explain to everyone back home what it's like.
Yeah.
And and I was trying to see a way to capture it, because as you say, it's just unreal. Like sometimes, even to this day, I'll sometimes sit next to like a giraffe and I'll look at this thing and I'm like, how are you real? Like this
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it's a real animal. It just, I'm like, this is a machine or something. It's and I
And
think
the
that's the
silence
thing.
there, it's
Yes.
I can hear my breathing, my heartbeat.
And the
Sometimes.
animals, you can
Yeah,
hear the
and the
animals
animals.
breathing. Yeah.
And when they are eating,
Yes.
that weird sounds, guys.
It's incredible. And that's the thing. I think it's so many sensory, like sensories, what do you call it? Senses that
Yeah.
are triggered when you're on a safari, because it's just so much to, like, you hear and you see and you feel and smell and, all of
Yeah.
that. And it's just amazing. So that's what I was trying to, like, convey that feeling to everyone back home. So I started taking photos and really enjoyed it, taking photos of the wildlife. And then when I came home again, my parents were very supportive, and they were super excited about all my photos. And classic parents being like, "This is the most amazing
Yeah.
thing I've ever seen." But they're my biggest fans, and I love them for it. And then I bought my own telephoto lens, and then I tried to come back to South Africa because I was like, that's just where I felt like my heart was. And I just needed to come back. Like even when I arrived to South Africa, the very first day on that 2-month trip, I just knew 2 months wasn't gonna be enough. I just
Wow.
knew it in my heart. And ever since then, it's just that's where I've felt the most at peace, and where I felt like I belong. So I was trying my best to try to come back to South Africa. And I was eventually able to come back and do a guiding qualification. So I am a qualified safari guide. And while doing that guiding qualification, we traveled around Southern Africa for 2 months, seeing a lot of South Africa, and also went into Mozambique and Eswatini and Lesotho, which was amazing to see, and just seeing how much South Africa has to offer. And
That's
it's
amazing.
just
So do you mean,
incredible
Carolina,
country.
like if I want a trip for South Africa, you do that trip for people who want to go to safari?
Yes, yeah. So not this specific trip that I'm talking about now, because that was 2 months of camping and so on. And I
Yeah.
want to I want to do
Because I
those
want
type
to
of
plan
trips.
for my next trip. That's why
But
I'm asking.
oh yes, 100%. If you need help planning, that's what me and my fiance do.
Great.
That's part of our business, is to help. We're a travel agency basically, and specialized on safaris. But we help plan, like if people want to do Cape Town and safari, then we help them figure that out, and just help plan and book the whole thing so that it's
That's
very smooth
amazing.
and easy. Yeah. So
That's
let me
good.
know and I'll help you out.
Sure.
But yeah, so that was actually talking about my fiance when I was on this, when I was doing the guiding qualification. I met my fiance, and we started dating, and then through him, I was able to get a visa and actually move to South Africa. And ever since then, it's
So
just
he was in Sweden, you mean, or South Africa?
in
You
South
met him.
Africa.
Okay.
Yes, I was in South Africa doing the guiding qualification, and yeah, and that's when I met him, and then through him was able to get a visa and then move, and then we worked in the lodge industry for quite a bit, because he was a guide, and then I started working there as what's called a front of house, so like receptionist
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff, guest relations, and continued doing the photography on the side. And eventually it started growing, my social media started growing, and I started seeing more and more people doing it as a job. And I realized, like, maybe I could also do it as a job. And that's when I started working towards it actually being a career. And then here we are today.
That's very inspiring story, actually,
Thank you.
Carolina. Carolina, how does it feel as a woman or a female to be in, I guess, it's a male dominant field? Did you face any difficulties to fit in this field?
Yeah, definitely. I think it is very much a male-dominated field. There's more and more females coming up, which is amazing to see. And I've got role models, a lot of female photographers in wildlife photography that are big role models. But it's in general, it is a lot of males, which is great as well. But I think the problem with it is, in the challenges that I've faced with it, is that often I find that people don't really take me seriously, because you have this like perception of what a wildlife photographer
Yeah.
needs to be, and like it needs to be crawling in the mud and this and this, and one, I can do that if I have to, but also you don't always have to do that for wildlife photography, and you can be an incredible wildlife photographer without, you know, lifting heavy like tires or something.
Yeah.
And
Because we have this image
yeah.
of the woman photographer in wildlife.
Mm.
And then when they told me we have a podcast with a photographer in a wildlife, I said, oh, maybe she's tough.
Yes.
But you are so cute, Karolina.
I'm here in my pink sweater, my
Yes.
blonde hair, and yeah, no. So, and that's the thing. I think, you know, there's wildlife photographers that are like that, and that's amazing as well. You know, those like the
Yeah.
badass, you know, woman kind of thing, and that's also amazing. But I think what I try to tell people is also like you can be both. Like you can like makeup and you can like photographing
That's
wildlife,
right.
and you can you know, you can be the feminine thing and also do something that people think maybe is mid masculine.
Totally agree.
And that's been maybe the challenge for me, is that sometimes people see my exterior and they're like, oh, here's this blonde girl from Sweden, and don't really think that I can teach them anything, or that I'm a serious photographer, and that's been a challenge sometimes, to break that wall. And yeah, so it can be tough sometimes.
And what specific challenges you have faced also as a professional woman in this field, other than the people's opinion?
You know, it can be, it's tough to, I think, do something.
Especially with the tools, I mean, like,
Okay.
as I know that the cameras are so heavy.
Yes.
So do you have to like exercise or something?
Not specifically for that. They're actually a lot lighter than many people think. Sony obviously also has very nice light gear, so that helps. But also there's a certain technique to hold them and so on, and so that really helps to be able to just learn the techniques of holding them and being stable, because that's the big thing. It's sometimes we're sitting for long times waiting for an
Yeah.
animal to move, so then you sit and you concentrated and you just need to hold the camera stable
Without shaking.
and that's often the tough part. But also, the type of wildlife photography that I do is mostly by car. So then it helps that I don't have to carry my gear for
Yeah.
long distances, except for when I'm flying and stuff. But otherwise, it's all by car, so I don't have to like hike 10K with my camera gear.
What is the
luckily.
longest time you hold a camera in your shoulder, let's say?
Oh, so in my backpack, that will be when I'm flying and I'm like walking
How you
between
actually,
flights and
I
stuff.
want to see how you hold it, like
Like how you-
this, or like a gun, or how.
Like when I'm photographing.
Yeah.
I wonder if there is some camera gear here we can show it. But no, but you hold you hold one hand, your left hand, on like the lens itself, like this, and then that's how you also use the zoom, or if you need to use the manual focus, because sometimes you need to override with the manual focus. So then that's how I'll hold it, and you like hold very stable like that. And then it's important that you have your arm like close to your body, because if you're holding it like this, that's when you get super unstable. So
Yeah.
you need to have your arms close to your body, and then obviously the other hand on the buttons on the camera, and then that's
Wow,
what you have
that's
up to
amazing.
you.
So there is a specific technique for that.
Yes, definitely.
If I come to South Africa, I want to try this experience.
100%, definitely.
Inshallah. And one more thing, is there like a cover or something, as we see in the movies, that you have to cover your face and wait for the animal like to do something or unexpected thing?
No, not really with the type of wildlife photography that I do. There is people who do that, definitely.
So even in this field, there is so many categories.
Yes, very much.
Wow.
Very much. So there's different types of wildlife photographers. I will say I'm maybe not the most patient one. I'll be patient when I have to be, but there's
Believe me, you are.
but there's wildlife photographers who will hide like that. And
Yeah.
like I know a wildlife photographer in Sweden who he built a igloo to be able to photograph a really rare animal. It's a lynx, the Eurasian lynx in Sweden. So he built an igloo, and then he was in that igloo for 3 days to try to photograph this lynx.
Wow, 3 days.
I don't know if I would be able to do that.
What about food, Karolina?
I don't know, but yeah. So that,
Because as I know, like the particular type of animals, if they smell something or they feel anything, maybe it will be a trigger for them. So how you manage the food things?
so what we're lucky with in the African wildlife is that the animals don't associate us with food. So it would be like things like maybe monkeys and baboons
Yeah, of course,
sometimes. Yeah.
monkeys.
They will sometimes like get into rooms and stuff if they smell food in a room, like in a tent, and then they will try to get into the tent and so on. But that's during the day. If you're not there to scare them away, then they might try to take advantage of it. But when it comes to food, like on the car, the animals, because they're not fed from cars, they all hunt for themselves, and they live completely wild, and they don't associate the car with food. So when we're out photographing wildlife, they only see us as basically a big moving rock. And as long as we stay inside the vehicle, they don't really see us as anything else. They know it's connected to people, but they don't see it as something that's dangerous, and they don't see it as something that like they could potentially eat, even if we have food inside the vehicle. If we have something that smells really strong, they might like start smelling a little bit, but they will never like try to get into the vehicle to get to that,
Yeah.
because they don't they haven't been taught that behavior, if that makes sense. So that's why we're able to get really close with the animals from a vehicle. Like we'll have a lion walking right past the vehicle, and he doesn't, in his mind, it's not an option to try to hunt us, because he has never been taught that we are edible.
Yeah.
So like he will walk really close and right past the vehicle, and it's completely safe because you're in the car and they don't.
I think also because you have that idea about the animals, that's what doesn't make you feel afraid from them.
Exactly.
Because you are saying that they thought that we are like a moving rock.
Yes.
So no need to be afraid.
No, exactly.
Wow, as simple as this.
It's simple as that.
Really?
But I will say, sometimes I still get scared. Things like, if something like an elephant can scare me, because they will still be, if you meet an elephant that's in a bad mood, then they can still, be a bit aggressive towards your vehicles and stuff, and it's really important to read their behavior and so on. And so elephants I always have big respect for when we're out in the vehicle. But then also, like, having a lion walking right past,
Yeah.
I'm not scared to the sense that I'm like nervous and like shaking or anything, but it does make you really like stop and just be it's very much like you're in that moment, and you very hyper aware of what's going on, which is, I think, also the most amazing part of it. And that's,
Wow.
when I'm
How you
completely
can
just
keep
there.
calm and control.
I think for that reason, because you're
Because you have to keep not nervous, right?
Exactly.
You have to be relaxed all the time.
Yeah, I think because I've done it so much, and I know what I'm doing, and I know the animal's behavior, because I did the guiding qualification, and
So you
I
have to
know
study the
that.
animal behavior, of course.
Exactly. So that helps a lot with photography, with wildlife photography. One, to be able to know when is the animal comfortable with me here, or when is the animal not comfortable, maybe I need to back off. But also to be able to anticipate what animals are gonna do, and like get into the best position for the best photos, or be ready with the camera when you're gonna take certain photos and so on. But then also from a safety point of view, I will know if it's safe that the animal is walking right next to me, or if I should be nervous.
Yeah.
And then it's just, I think when you know those things, it's just exciting rather than scary.
Wow, amazing. Is there any particular type of animal that you want to focus and photograph, or you prefer to photograph?
I love them all, I must say, but my favorite animal to photograph is definitely leopards.
Wow.
They just do so well on photos, and it feels like they've got so much expression and a lot of personality, and they're incredible animals, so they're probably my favorite to photograph.
That's amazing. Okay, when you start this career, Karolina, what challenging you faced, especially in the difficulties, what makes you take that decision?
There's been a lot of challenges. I think the scary part of doing what I do is stepping into the unknown, and taking the big leap of resigning from my full-time job when we were still working in the lodge industry, and saying, okay, I'm gonna try this full time and see if I can actually make money doing this, and not really having any good idea of how I can actually make money from it. So that's been really scary, and it can still be scary to this day. It's
Yeah.
something that you're constantly just figuring out, like, how do I make this work? And you face different challenges of like, what projects do you say yes to and what projects do you say no to, and all of those type of things, and a lot of big decisions that you constantly have to do. So that can be really scary because you just never know when your next salary is going to come. But then at the same time, that's also the most exciting part, because all of a sudden you can get a last minute opportunity that is,
Yeah.
all of a sudden an email comes in and I'm just like, whoa, this is an incredible opportunity and such a cool company to work with, or whatever it might be. So that's the exciting part as well.
Wish you all the luck. And one more thing, how you can deal with the unexpected things like bad weather or unexpected animals come in?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Or maybe you can mention a story for us.
Yeah, let me think of something, a good story. Like, I was in Serengeti now recently. Yeah, and I think the big thing is you just have to go with the flow, and you just have to trust that you're gonna be fine. Yeah, but we were in
You have to
Serengeti
expect the unexpected.
very much,
Wow.
very much. We were in Serengeti recently with on one of my safaris. And I was hosting a group of 10 guests, and we had 3 vehicles, and we're all photographers. And, we were out looking for lions in a specific area that was a little bit further away from where we were staying. And it started to like get closer to sunset. So we're like, okay, maybe we need to head back and start heading back to the lodge, because it was like 2 hours away. So we had to like get back. And then obviously that's when we find the lions. So we find these lions and we have an incredible sighting of them, and we take photos, and it's just awesome on this open plains of Serengeti, and it's really close to the car and everything. So it was fantastic. But then we see the storm starting to
Wow.
brew in the horizon, and we're like, okay, it's getting dark now. Like, we need to head back. So we leave the lions, we start driving back to the lodge, and then all of a sudden, boom, there's a leopard in a tree. And we
Wow.
like have to stop for this leopard in the tree, and also an incredible sighting. There was hyenas down under the tree, and the leopard was hiding from the hyenas up in the tree. So we saw them all there, and like, it was incredible. But again, we're like, okay, now it's starting to rain. Now, like, the storm is starting to get here. So, like, we have to go. And now it's getting really dark. So then we drive quite far in the dark, in the rain, and you're like bumping around on these vehicles and trying to get back to the lodge. And it's raining, and it's just, you like the vehicle, you try to close the sides so it's not going to rain
Wow.
in, and like all of this. And yeah, so eventually we're driving, and you just have to kind of hold on and just be like, this is part of the adventure, because it's not the most comfortable thing, but it's
Yeah.
part of why we're
I
able to see
assume
the
in
animals
that
that we see.
moment, like you're saying to yourself, I have to quit.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Karolina, what I'm doing here?
Yes. Oh, very much. Like, I sit there and I'm just like, oh, why am I doing this? Like,
Is
okay,
the
like, what's going
passion
in?
is it the passion what makes you continue?
Yes, definitely. Because it's also like, obviously, like the lion and the leopard
Passion or the money
sighting.
or both?
No, definitely the passion. No, money is not that great. No, it's all of the passion. And the leopard and lion sighting, made it all worth it. But then the cherry on top was that we had been driving now for like 2 hours, and we now like 10 minutes away from the lodge. And I'm like, okay, finally. Like, oh, on the way, we had also bumped into other lions that like all of a sudden popped up in the middle
Wow.
of the road. Yeah, so like, again, there was just animals everywhere. And now we're driving, and we're just 10 minutes away from the lodge. And then now, because it's been raining and the storm has come through, obviously like all these like rivers and stuff have started flooding, and there's water on the road, and like
Did you cry in that moment?
no,
No?
no, I can't
Did
cry
you
when I'm
ever
with
cry?
guests.
Really?
I wanted to cry, but I had to hold it in because I'm there having to take care of my guests.
No, I'm a wildlife photographer. I have to be strong. I have
Yes,
to be
we need to
strong.
be a strong woman.
Yeah.
But then we're trying to cross this like little river, and which usually is fine, like they big vehicles that can drive through a lot of things and so on. But because of the water, it was difficult to see where we were going. And we were driving, and we're crossing this river, and I just feel the vehicle all of a sudden just go whoop.
Wow. Oh my
And
God.
now I'm like, no, not now, not now. And we like 10 minutes away from the lodge. and we've gotten stuck because there was a big dip that we couldn't see because of the water. So the car is going down like this, and then it couldn't get grip and couldn't drive forward. Luckily, we had another car behind that could actually end up being able to push the other car from behind to get it to get a bit of grip and then be able to continue driving. But that's definitely when I was sitting there, I was just like, why am I doing this? I could be in a bed right now and like this, it's raining.
Scrolling up the social media
Yeah.
and order the online things items.
And I was just like, not now. Like,
It is the passion.
It is 100%.
In my opinion, I know it starts from the passion and the career, but I'm sure that there is a message from your photos or from your whole career. So, how do your photographs contribute to raising awareness about wildlife issues?
So I'm a firm believer that wildlife photography really is a part of conservation and helps conservation, and as you say, raise awareness of animals and issues that we face in conserving these natural ecosystems. And I believe it's because I'm hoping that I'm able to convey the feeling of what it's like to see these animals in the wild. And I'm hoping that I'm able to also get people to connect with these animals that I photograph, and when you find a connection as a person, and when you like an animal, then you're much more likely to protect that animal and put in effort to try to help it. And also,
So you
so
consider the wildlife photographer is a part of that, this
exactly,
thing,
because
to
if you
protect the
don't
wildlife.
if you don't know about an animal, if you don't, you're not going to care about it, and you're going to continue living your life because you don't know.
Yeah.
But if you learn about it and if you see it and you get a connection with it through photographs, you're much more likely to care about it. And then I also think I firmly believe that tourism is a big part of conservation as well, because without tourists on safari in these natural areas, those natural areas wouldn't have funding to exist. And like tourists that come on safari, they provide so many jobs for the locals, which helps the local communities to continue living where they do, and helps the local communities so much. And also helps the locals find an appreciation for the wildlife and want to protect the wildlife as well. And then also, like, we live in a world where money is everything. And if these areas can't provide money in the sense of tourism and safari, then those areas would be used for something
Yeah.
else. And then we wouldn't have those areas to protect our wildlife. So I also think having me posting on social media and sharing my work with my photography, also, I'm hoping to inspire people to come on safari, because them coming on safari helps protect these natural areas as well. So for me, it's a double that way, that both to give people a connection with the animals as a need and want to protect them, but also making them excited to want to come to Africa on safari and
That's
see them
great.
for
That's
themselves.
great.
Yeah.
Karolina, I'm pretty sure that this life learned you a lot.
Yeah.
So, what are the most lessons in the wildlife that you have learned from that?
It's a really good question. I think from the wildlife specifically, I find that I learned that certain things in life are not as important as I thought they were, and that when you watch wildlife, everything is like stripped down to its core basically, and you see these wild animals living their true wild life, and you're able to experience that and see it with your own eyes. It makes you realize how small you are in the world, and how the things that I get anxious and nervous about don't really matter that much.
Yeah.
And it's like it all comes down to just living this life as best as you can, and being a good person, and and all of those type of things, and enjoying it while you're here. And all the things we stress about sometimes in our lives don't actually matter in the long run. So that has really, really helped me with learning that from the wildlife. And then also, like, similar to that, like, doing what I do and taking this path, I feel like I've also learned that it's really important to follow your heart, and follow what your gut tells you and do your passion. And even if you don't know where it's going to take you, like if you just follow what your heart is telling you, then it will work out and everything will be
If you listen to your heart.
Exactly.
Absolutely agree.
Exactly.
And you didn't mention that it teaches you how to be patient.
Yes, that's true.
This is not for everyone.
No.
Let's talk about cameras. Do you remember your first camera that
I
you
do.
already bought for photograph?
Yes, I got my first camera when I was 15. It was a Nikon D3300, I think, or something like that, or maybe it was just a 3000.
Is it still with you?
No, it broke long ago, but I think I have it somewhere, but it's broken. And I had to buy a new one. So I did shoot with Nikon for a bit, and then I switched to Sony because when I tried the Sony gear, I was just like, whoa, and
Wow.
it just fit perfectly in my hands. And yeah, then I've been with Sony since
Until now.
until now. Well,
And
and hopefully in future as well.
do you feel like as a photographer you have to try all the new cameras, like new release, and to try the new features and tools in it, or you don't consider yourself as a camera collector?
No, I
Because
don't.
sometimes it's happened, even for
Yeah.
me, like in a voiceover, oh, a new mic, I have
I have to
I
try
have to try
this.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely enjoy trying the gear. And like with Sony, I've been fortunate enough to try a lot of different fun cameras and so on. But I don't really collect them myself. Like I think it's fun to try, but then I
And to
definitely.
upgrade our also work
Yes,
in photographs.
exactly. And I think it's trying new gear, and even if it's like something small, it can really give you more inspiration to try different ways of photographing
Yeah.
something. Even if you buy just a little small filter or whatever it might be, it will get you going out there with a new mindset, which can help you get creative. But I don't really collect the cameras myself because I'll find one that's my favorite and then that's what I'll stick with. But definitely enjoy trying different things and trying different gear and
Actually, I
get a bit
saw
techy.
all the photos in your social media account. It's really amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, so but I want to ask you, is there any role model for you in this field, or in general, from where do you get the inspiration in
You're putting
photos?
me a little bit on the spot now. I don't know. I can't say any specific names on the spot like this, but I will say something that gives me a lot of inspiration and where I find role models and something that has helped me a lot
Yeah.
through this journey has definitely been social media. And as much as social media can be really tough sometimes, I think it is a really good source of inspiration. And for me, that's been amazing to be able to see other wildlife photographers, but both female and male, but other wildlife photographers being able to see their work and see what's possible and kind of learn a bit more of like how you take certain photos, because a lot of people will share tips and tricks on social media and you can learn a lot from it.
Yeah.
So for me, that's been a big inspiration is social media and the people I follow on social media. I When I started my wildlife photography social media, I decided to only follow people that do wildlife photography, and then since then it's basically I only follow people that I find inspiration from in one way, shape, or form, even if they're photographers in another
Oh,
field or
that's a great
anything.
point, actually.
Yeah, because I think then you just fuel your feed with stuff that gives you
Yes.
positive, rather than fueling your field with stuff that will make you feel negative. And I think that's where you can find a lot of
Yeah,
inspiration.
of course, if you agree with me, the social media helped us a lot to expand our career, like network, and get inspiration from any content. But I want to know the feedback of the people, the followers in your
Yes.
social media. And is there, of course, there is a lot of positive comments, but how do you deal with the negative comments? Like, does it even affect on you? Like,
No,
what
it
you are
does.
doing, you're a female, it's dangerous. Oh my God.
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate to have a very supportive community, and I think that's also like one of the major things with the social media is the people that I've been able to connect with and the people that support me.
Support.
Um, But I do get every now and then I'll get negative comments. They've never really been too much about me being female. There can be a certain undertone of people maybe questioning things because I'm female. But nobody's really said straight out like,
Yeah.
what are you doing as a wildlife photographer? People sometimes will say like, yeah, but you're growing on social media just because
Yeah.
you're female, and like, oh, it's easy to grow on social media when you're a pretty girl, basically. Um, and kind of disregarding that it's my work that helps me, and disregarding the quality of my work, and just say it's just because the way you look, basically. So that can be frustrating because I put so much work into my social media and so much work into my photography as well.
Yeah.
But then also, like, when I do get negative comments, it's often when something goes viral and people who don't follow me and don't know me, they
Yeah.
comment, and it's always that thing. But the amazing thing then is that I have this community backing me, and it will get to me. Sometimes I get really like upset about it, and I'll talk to my fiance about it, and he's always just there supporting me and telling me not to stress about it too much. But there's been times when I've maybe posted about it on my story or something, to mostly just to show people that there's a downside to social media as well, and
Yeah.
showing people that it can be tough sometimes when you get negative comments and so
Of
on.
course.
But then the amount of messages that I've gotten and how my community has just absolutely backed me up has been incredible. And that's the stuff I think about whenever I get negative
Yes,
comments. I'm
of
like,
course.
okay, yes, that hurts, but I have all of these people backing me.
Yes, it's all
And
about support, and we have to
Exactly.
focus, of course, on the positive things and the positive people
Exactly.
that help. Like the event, what happened here in Kuwait, we support each other,
It's
like
amazing.
sharing inspirational experiences or stories, and that's really amazing. And
Absolutely.
one more thing, it's really nice when I saw your account that you have a calendar.
Yes, yeah, I just
I
launched
ordered it
it.
today, by the
No
way.
way!
Yes,
Oh, thank you so
for
much.
2025 calendar. It's
Amazing.
amazing.
Thank you so
And
much.
also, I saw like a magazine. Or tell me more about these things.
Yes, well, thank you so much for ordering. That's so sweet. Yeah, so it's part of my job is I offer prints, and then I have the
A guide or
calendar.
something like this.
Yes, I
Yeah.
have an ebook. If I think that's what you're talking about. It's an ebook. So it's basically like a wildlife photography guide for beginners. So
Amazing.
yeah, so it's a digital product, so it's easy for anyone in the world to be able to order, which is what I've been really like. It's been amazing to be able to reach out to all these different people in all over the world. So yeah, so it's my
And
calendar,
all the
and
photos in the calendar,
is
you took
mine.
that
Yes,
photos.
yes,
Wow,
yeah.
amazing.
So the
I'm
wildlife
so
calendar.
excited.
I hope you like it. And
Of
yeah,
course,
that's
I
all.
will.
It's basically my top photos from last
Wow,
year, no, this year, from this year, that I've put into one calendar, and it's
that's
always
nice.
like the a nice way to finish off the year when you really pull out your best work and you put it into a product, and yeah, it's amazing.
Now we are in the end of this episode, but I want to ask you, and I want you to tell an advice or like any message for a female, especially photographers that are beginners or they want to come to this field.
To wildlife photography specifically.
Yes. In general, let us say in
Mm.
general, photographs and wildlife photograph.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing is to believe in yourself, and it also sounds super cliche and everything, but you need to believe in yourself. You need to listen to your gut. You need to listen to your heart, and follow what you think feels right, and then things will work out. Like, as long as you work hard on something that you love, the rest will follow, and it will work out. Um, and so that's the big thing. But then I think from a like more specifically for wildlife photography, because it can be very tricky to figure out like how can you actually earn money as a wildlife photographer.
Yeah.
Because I think with things like wedding or portrait photographer, it's quite obvious that okay, you get clients and you get paid. That's basically it. With wildlife photography, it's a little bit more complicated, and this is the thing. As a photographer, you can be however skilled you are, but if you don't figure out the business side of it, you will never be able to do it as a full-time job. So that's important, to be able to figure out how can I turn this into a business. and then you need to play on your own strength. So it's because there's no one way to do it, and you need to figure out what best works for you in your situation. So for me, I've always loved teaching, and that's why a lot of the work that I do as a wildlife photographer includes teaching other people how to do wildlife photography, including my ebook, as I mentioned. I also have an editing course on my website where people can learn how to edit wildlife photos from me. So those are like pre-recorded videos and everything. And then I also obviously hosting guests on Safari. I'm constantly teaching people how to take wildlife photos as we're out in the field. So that for me has been something that I've like dove straight into the teaching side of it, because for me that comes naturally. But if you are someone who maybe that doesn't come naturally for you, then you need to look at what are your strengths. Maybe you're an amazing storyteller and you can write incredible stories for your photos, and then use that to sell the photos to magazines and articles and something like that maybe. So you need to figure out what works for you, and start small and then expand.
Baby steps.
Baby
Yeah,
steps.
you cannot
baby
jump
steps.
from 1 to
No.
10.
No, not at all. You need to start small, figure out
Yeah.
what works for you in your area, and then scale from there.
Work on everything step by step. This is an amazing and a golden advice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Karolina.
Thank
Have a
you.
safe flight. And again, we are so happy to have you here with us in Kuwait. And good luck with your workshop also.
Thank you so much. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much for having me. It was
You're
wonderful.
welcome. You're welcome. Bye bye.
Thank you.
See you.